Mula Piru Wagai.
And welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, David Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at the headlines this evening.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
No vehicle imports and no public sector recruitment for 2022, says the Finance Minister. Admiral of the Fleet Vasantha Karanagoda, new Northwest Governor. National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19 to be converted to an Operations Centre for Green Agriculture. Sarath and Sarath clash in Parliament again.
මේ පින්තූරේ ඉන්නවා සරත් විශේෂකර ඇමතුමා මෙතන ඉන්නවා ලඩියා කියන මේ ජාවාරංකාරයා. එයාගේ මල්ලි තමයි මෙතන ඉන්නේ. වෙස්මුණු බැන්දට එයාට නටන්න වෙන්නේ එළිපිට.
Inmate labour fraud exposed by the opposition in Parliament. Booster shots for those above 30 years in Colombo.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Do you remember the bond scam? One company favoured during the issuance of central bank treasury bonds in 2015 and 2016. Losses faced by the Employees Provident Fund amount to 8 billion rupees. Sri Lankan Airlines. Sri Lankan Airlines enters into a deal to purchase 10 aircraft in 2013. Details emerge on $16.8 million pocketed as commissions. Sri Lanka ends up paying 17 billion rupees to end the deal without aircraft. Coal transaction. A deal that shocked the conscience of the Supreme Court in 2016. Losses faced up to millions of dollars after purchasing coal by favouring one party instead of following an open and transparent tender process at a low cost. Sugar scam. Sri Lanka faces losses of up to 15.9 billion rupees between 2020 and 2021 by reducing the import levy on sugar. Government suffers massive losses after changing the levy on coconut oil imports. The hedging deal, Greek bond scam, Malwana land transaction, the deal to lease out a building for Agriculture Ministry in Rajagiriya, the transaction to purchase 50 generators for the Ceylon Electricity Board, the misappropriation of funds of the Divi Nagama Department, the Suraksha insurance deal, and the move to hand over lands in Colombo for investment projects has come under heavy criticism for causing losses to the country. From time to time, various institutions, commissions and committees have investigated these incidents, while some matters have been taken up in court. On International Anti-Corruption Day, let us recall the action taken against these corrupt transactions and those involved in such incidents. Let us join hands to defeat corruption.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that several reforms are needed in Sri Lanka's tertiary education system. He made these remarks at the 2021 convocation of the Sir John Kotalawala Defence University at PMICH today.
Larger problem concerning Sri Lanka's education system, however, is its extreme capacity constraints. It has almost resulted in the system being designed with more intent to fail students than to help them succeed. We see this in the large numbers who travel abroad each year to obtain their university education in other countries. Not only do the parents of these students incur high cost by doing so, the country loses valuable foreign exchange, and most worryingly, it is deprived of many outstanding young people who will most likely to continue to live abroad instead of returning to Sri Lanka. Almost all the best universities in the world are not state universities. There is absolutely no reason why such institutions cannot be established in Sri Lanka. If the legal framework needs to be changed to make this possible, that can be done. Traditional attitudes are preventing such institutions from being established. Those must be strongly challenged. The fact that students may pay for their studies at universities established outside the public sector does not mean that those institutions sell degrees. Objecting to the establishment of universities outside the public sector on such flimsy grounds is not just tragic, it is a crime. It should be the role of the University Grant Commission to regulate and maintain the standard of all universities, irrespective of whether they are state-funded or self-funded.
Admiral of the Fleet Wasantha Karanagoda took oaths as the Governor of the Northwestern Province today. Admiral of the Fleet Wasantha Karanagoda took oaths as a governor at the Presidential Secretariat. The position of Northwestern Province Governor fell vacant after the demise of Raja Kulure on Tuesday. Wasantha Karanagoda served as Navy Commander from 2005 to 2009 and also as Sri Lanka's ambassador to Japan afterwards. The Colombo Municipal Council says booster vaccines will be given to those above 30 years in the Colombo city from tomorrow. The Pfizer vaccine will be administered as the booster dose. The CMC said all eligible citizens will receive an SMS notifying them of the relevant details. It urged the public to avoid panicking and creating unnecessary gatherings. Meanwhile, the National Operations Center for the Prevention of COVID-19 outbreak has been converted to the National Operations Center for Green Agriculture. The center will be led by Army Commander General Shavendra Silva.
This operations center being tasked already by His Excellency the President to have operations center for green agriculture. So therefore, we'll be converting this operation center for green agriculture in support of the Agriculture Ministry and other line ministries. So with effect from today, the National Operations Center for Prevention of COVID-19 will disintegrate from the pandemic related activities. We together as a team have been working tirelessly to control the global pandemic, led by the Minister and also the DG Health. Medical and public health care staff will be able to further improve the controlling of the pandemic in the future and to enter into the new year 2022 as a COVID-free Sri Lanka. From today onwards, this operation center will start contributing to another great national effort, have the National Operations Center for Green Agriculture.
The Agriculture Minister expressed these views today regarding the Centre on Green Agriculture that is led by the Army Commander. We expect to obtain the required information through the centre. All operations will be conducted under the Agriculture Ministry. The Operations Centre will ensure whether the farmers are receiving the fertilizer on time and as to whether they are of the proper standards. The Operations Centre will provide supervision with regard to the problems in the production of fertilizer and quality standards. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa has said that the recent move reflects the failure of the Agriculture Minister. He made these remarks during an event to declare open a building at the Sri Chandraloka Dhamma School in Bundala.
මට පේන විදිහට අපිට පේන විදිහට කෘෂිකර්ම ඇමතිතුමාට තමන්ගේ වගකීම ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නට බෑ.
What we feel is that the Agriculture Minister can't fulfill his responsibilities. By entrusting all activities regarding fertilizer to the Army Commander, the President has shown the country that the Agriculture Minister and the State Minister of Fertilizer who receive public funds is of no good. If the Army Commander is given these responsibilities and if the Army officers are taking part in the fertilizer distribution process, then why do we need an Agriculture Minister? The problem here here is not about entrusting the army commander with duties that the agriculture minister or the state minister of fertilizer have failed to do. The problem here is that if the agriculture sector is to be uplifted and if the harvest must be increased, we wish to say that they must obtain the advice of experts and take steps to introduce a combination of organic and chemical fertilizer. Since the minister can't do his duties properly, that task has been entrusted with the army commander. Gas cylinders are exploding in several areas. The president might say Bandulu Gunawardena and Lasantha Alegeyawanna that they have not been good at handling this and entrust that also with the army commander.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාට සිද්ධ වෙයි බන්දුල ගුණවර්ධන ඔයාටත් බෑ ලසන්ත ඇමතිතුමා ඔයාටත් බෑ මම මේක හමුදාපතිතුමාට බාර දෙනවයි කියලා කියන්නේ.
The latest measures concerning the agriculture industry figured in and out of parliament. There is no debate with regard to the significant role played by the Triforces and police in the victory of the war in the country. Is it practical to hand over the task of fighting the war to the agriculture ministry? Is it practical to assign the task of educating university students to the ministry of clay? What if university professors are handed the task of making clay products? Can they make those beautiful clay-based creations? They do not have the skills to do that. How did the government get started? They said the government under Gotabaya will assign ministerial posts in a scientific basis. Is this scientific now? Hand over both positions of the army commander as well as the ministerial post of the agriculture minister. Shavendra has been assigned to save Shashindra. We have suspicions as to whether this is a long-term plan to militarize the country. In an address to the nation, he said he can deploy the army and distribute organic fertilizer to farmers by holding them by the scruff of their necks. There is a fair share of suspicion and fear among the farming community regarding this task being assigned to the army. We do have faith in the army, but we also have our doubts on how this government, the president and the army will operate. You can't cover up the fact that a scam occurred when importing liquid fertilizer. It is sold at about 600 rupees in the Indian market and sold here at about 2,500. We don't know who received this money. When there are accusations like this, the president appointed an operations center on green agriculture. He entrusted it with the army commander. Can they do everything by entrusting it with the army commander? This raises questions on whether they are trying to cover up the scam through this move. The allegations are being leveled against a prominent minister when a direct solution can't be given to that, and by entrusting these duties with the army commander, we feel they are trying to cover up the scam and mark a new beginning under the army commander.
Former Army Commander Daya Ratnayaka expressed the following views at an event recently.
Academics, experts and intellectuals must be the ones leading this society. If soldiers lead from the front, they will go to war. Any country in the world has not improved with soldiers leading from the front. Countries with the military rule haven't improved. They can handle different tasks and not this. Finance Minister Basid Rajapaksa has said that the government will allocate funds by giving priority to economic activities. This was during a meeting to promote liquid milk in Battaramulla. As a country, we will have to face the shortage of foreign revenue seriously. I know that during all discussions, even with the president, what is being asked is vehicles and more employees. We have to limit that. Next year, we won't allow vehicles to be imported or to expand the staff cadre. Therefore, don't ask us to increase the staff cadre. There is nothing to hide. But we will have to manage with the existing cadre this year. Officials at some divisional secretariats don't even have chairs. If we increase the cadre, it won't help us increase the efficiency. You know that there are import restrictions on vehicles, titles and 17 crops that can be grown locally, including turmeric. We are trying to increase that list, but the ministers aren't allowing us to do that. Regardless of how many laws are there, we will have to make certain decisions to fulfill the needs of the people. That is the situation faced by the government. What is the current economic situation of the country? State Minister Shehan Semasinghe responded on behalf of the Finance Minister to the questions raised in Parliament by opposition MP Anrukumara Disanayake. We have net foreign assets worth $1.5 billion as of November 2021. Our foreign currency reserve stands at $1 billion. We have gold reserves of $382.2 million. We have to take the necessary steps to increase our foreign assets and reserves. We have entered into an agreement with the Central Bank of Qatar to obtain a currency swap of over $1 billion. We are also obtaining a currency swap of $400 million with the partnership of the Indian Reserve Bank under the SARC Financial Aid Facility. We have also made the necessary arrangements to obtain a loan of $300 million through the Consolidated Loan Facility. We have made the necessary arrangements to obtain $500 million through currency swaps with partnerships of various global commercial banks. We have also made arrangements to protect the remittances of expatriate workers worth $500 million. After Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa's visit to India, we have reached an agreement on fuel purchases. We will also reach an agreement to buy essential goods and medicines. Financial institutions like the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank have agreed to support us. Advocata Institute says 46 out of the 52 strategic state-owned enterprises have not submitted their annual reports for the year 2020.
A lot of the data is not available public, especially annual reports, which are regulatory requirement. What we can say from the research we've done from 2015 onwards is that out of 52 SOEs for 2015, 12 SOEs have no annual reports. In 2016 it was 18, in 2017 it was 18, in 2018 it was 31, in 2019 it was 21, and by 2020 46 SOEs out of the strategic SOEs from the 52 have not submitted their annual reports. And it is the same, the Public Enterprises Department submits PED reports which basically analyzes the performance of SOEs. Since 2018, none of these reports have been published.
Advice that Sri Lanka seeks assistance from the IMF, especially in terms of state-owned enterprises?
You go to the IMF just to increase your credibility, and not for the money. It's not the money part. But if you have a program with IMF, lenders know that there is some order in which how we will approach it, and I see it in many countries. And so the great contribution that they have is to give you some discipline. And at the moment, I don't think we are credible to the rest of the world.
The government has drawn its attention on legalizing the cultivation of hemp to earn export revenue. As the Minister of Indigenous Medicine, we will have to revoke the laws banning that and then introduce new laws. In the next few weeks, we will finalize with the support of the Legal Draftsman's Department and the Justice Ministry. We are trying to pass these laws in Cabinet and Parliament as well. We are doing this only to allow exports. We won't allow this to be expanded for other purposes by importing the required seeds or other substances. Views were expressed on this during a media briefing at the President's Media Centre. The Ayurveda Act, under Act 31 of 1961, has outlined the laws that must be followed when using cannabis as a form of traditional medicines. The Ministry of Indigenous Medicine and the Ayurveda Department is not responsible for supplying cannabis to the market. At present, the cultivation of cannabis, being in the possession of it and issuing it to the market is banned. There are several matters that require legal approval. The laws must be prepared on that. This must be discussed with the Attorney General's Department. That is how we must take this forward. Now taking a look at one of your headline-making stories. A tense exchange of words occurred in Parliament between MP Sarath Fonseca and Sarath Veerasekara today. MP Sarath Fonseca responded to certain remarks expressed by Sarath Veerasekara recently.
Sarath
Veerasekara referred to a person called Tinkering Lasantha. I don't know who he is. I only said that suspects are being killed under police custody and that is bad. That is inhumane and ruthless. Sarath Veerasekara can be seen in this picture. Besides him is a racketeer called Ladia. He used to smuggle the narcotic called ice to the country. He has fled the country. This is his brother. His brother is also here. Sarath Veerasekara accuses me of dealing with them and then goes and associates closely with those people. There was a monk who delivered a sermon here. I don't know whether his sermon was similar to the ones given in voice cuts. He also said that Tinkering Lasantha was killed because Sunshine Suddha was murdered. That means that Sunshine Suddha is a friend of Veerasekara. What we feel is that he has developed ties with an underworld gang. He has started killing other people for the security of that gang. He is concealing his true identity here. He said that the police forces belong to him. How can the police belong to him? I didn't say that those in the police force are cowards, but I am not afraid of saying that those who killed people to please Virasekara are cowards. If he is using power to kill people, then that is a cowardly act. I wasn't given the Ministry of Law and Order because they know about me. The person who didn't give it to me is also here. That is true. Some stalwarts told Maithripala Sirisena went and requested to give me the Ministry of Law and Order.
පිරිසක් ගිහිල්ලා මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන උන්න හැට කිව්වා ඉල්ලීමක් කරා මට නීති ආසාමය අමාත්‍යාංශය දෙන්න කියලා. මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන කියන්නේ
Maithripala Sirisena is the former president. These public representatives are acting in an uncivilized manner. Use decent language when speaking. Otherwise, leave this place.
මේ භාෂාවෙන් කතා කරන්න කියන්නේ. බැරි නම් වාහේවයන් නුවරට ගොස් මවට තගේ. හරි ඒක ඔබතුමා අවශ්‍ය නම් ඒ වචන අයින් කරන්න. දැන් ජනාධිපති නෙවෙයිනේ. දැන් മന്ത്രിතුමා. ෆීල්ඩ් මාෂල් තනතුරු දුන්නේ.
Don't forget that it was former President Maithripala Sirisena who conferred the title of Field Marshal on you. Be grateful to that as a person. We received those titles from those who were in those positions because we deserved it. No one gave it out of their pockets.
We're going in for a short commercial break. Stay tuned for more of the very latest.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Welcome back to the news. Sri Lanka Navy, popularly known as the first line of defense of the country, is proudly celebrating its 71st anniversary today.
The Navy Act No. 34 of 1950 marked the beginning of the regular naval force of Sri Lanka with the establishment of the Royal Ceylon Navy on the 9th of December 1950. The Royal Ceylon Navy, which has grown steadily since then, became the Sri Lankan Navy on the 22nd of May 1972, when the country
Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka began investigating complaints of gas explosions today.
Officials from the Sri Lanka Standards Institute, the Consumer Affairs Authority and the State Ministry of Consumer Protection are providing information to the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka for the inquiry. The investigation is being carried out based on complaints filed with the Human Rights Commission by several social activists, including the Sri Lanka Young Journalists Association, but representatives from the two gas companies were not present. A writ petition filed with the appeal court seeking an order instructing the Attorney General and the IGP to take criminal legal action against the gas companies and those responsible for importing and distributing unsafe gas cylinders will be taken up tomorrow. The petition was taken up before Justices Dhammika Ganepola and Sobhita Rajakarna today. The petition has requested court to instruct the LAVs and Litro gas companies to compensate those who were injured and also the families of victims of gas explosions. Nagananda Kodituwaku has filed the petition with the appeal court. The Trade Minister, State Minister Lasantha Alagiyawanna, the two gas companies, the Consumer Affairs Authority, the Director General of the Sri Lanka Standards Institute and the Attorney General have been named as respondents. A group of SJB parliamentarians visited the Litro gas storage terminal in Kerawalapitiya this morning.
කතා කරපු ඒ නිලධාරි මහතුරුත් කිව්වේ පීඩනය ඉහළම සීමාවේ තිබුණා කියලා.
The officers here told us that the pressure was at its highest levels when they conducted tests. This unfortunate incident had occurred because of this. We wish to say that compensation must be given to the damages caused by litro gas cylinders and those responsible must be punished.
දඬුවම් දෙන්න කියන එක තමයි අපි පැහැදිලිවම නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න කියන එක තමයි අපි පැහැදිලිවම කියන්නේ.
Gas explosions were reported in some parts of the country today as well. One explosion had occurred at a restaurant near the Gampala bus stand at around 6:30 this morning. 2 people in the restaurant were injured in the blast. When a fire broke out, I removed the regulator and threw it outside. My hand was burnt. I did that because I was afraid it will spread to other shops. An explosion was reported in a house in the Kalundegama village in Rajangane because of a gas leak this morning. A gas cooker had exploded at a house in Daranagama in Delgoda. Another explosion of a gas cooker had occurred at a house in Daluakutua in Kochikade. While the people continue to be affected by gas explosions, people have also been inconvenienced due to trade union actions. Services at hospitals in the central province were disrupted due to the strike launched by the Nursing, Professions, Supplementary Medicine and Paramedic Service Union. They staged the strike citing several demands including the need to resolve the salary anomalies. The workers involved in the trade union action staged a protest in Kandy this afternoon. We are asking them to implement the recommendations of the Ranupge committee. At the same time, they must provide positions and salaries that match one's qualifications. They must resolve all anomalies regarding promotions. The people can't bear the cost of medicines. They must reduce the cost of medicines. The healthcare professionals have taken to the streets, citing these demands. The Women for Rights organization explained the current situation surrounding the cost of living in Anuradhapura today.
A family of 4 needs about 66,000 or 70,000 rupees to find meals. Even if the husband and wife are working, it's difficult for them to survive. They find it difficult to even cook some rice and coconut sambal. A coconut costs about 90 to 100 rupees. A kilo of rice stands between 140 and 210 rupees. Women are finding it difficult as the cost of living rises. They are unable to feed their children. We pled with the president to create a country in which we can live. But today, they have created a country in which we are in hunger. When we buy gas cylinders, we don't know when they will explode.
The opposition made a revelation today on the exploitation of prison inmates.
They have formed manpower using inmates. You know that according to the ordinance, inmates can't be used for types of labor that generate revenue. An inmate can't work for more than 48 hours a week. Medical advice must be sought if they are to be given hard labor. While there are such laws, they have created a workforce using several inmates and charge 3,500 for the services of an inmate daily. Who receives this money? Is it received by the government or the prisons department? The prison receives 500 rupees. They are forming manpower using inmates and are allowing some people to earn money through this exploitation. This is wrong. Don't allow such fraudulent activities to take place. Those involved in this are holding top posts as secretaries. We can reveal that, but we don't want to bring disrepute to those positions. These are the activities of a small group.
In violation of the prisons ordinance, they are charging 3,500 rupees for the services of each inmate illegally while giving inmates 500 rupees. Who is receiving the remaining 3,000 rupees? The avant-garde company that works closely with the president is involved in these illegal activities. This is happening with the permission of the defense secretary. The justice minister doesn't know that. The minister in charge doesn't know that either.
විශේෂ ඇමතිතුමා ඒක දන්නෙත් නැහැ. අර පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්න පිස්සු බල්ලව බැදලා දාන්න හැමදාම බුරලෝ මේක. පිස්සෙක් මේක පිස්සෙක්. ගරු අද වෙනකොට මේ විදියට මේ රටේ ඉන්න සිරකාරයන්ව තූරගෙන අදපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ මුජිබුර් රහ්මාන් මන්ත්‍රීවරයා දැනට ඉන්නේ පාතාලයේ හිමිකම් කියන ගෙදරක. ගරු මුජිබුර් රහ්මාන්තුමා කතා කරන්න. දැන් මේ නැගිටගත්ත මන්ත්‍රීතුමාගේ නඩුවක් තිබුණා අල්ලස් දූෂණයකින්. ඒ නඩුවත් ඉල්ලා අස් කරගත්තා. හරි. එහෙම කෙනෙක් තමයි අද මේ නැගිට්ටේ.
National People's Power MP Dr. Harini Amarasuriya also revealed an instance in which prisoners are being exploited.
Prisoners are being used to produce bakery goods as a form of vocational training. However, businesses are then buying these products and making huge profits out of it because they are basically using the prisoners as pretty much free labor. And there are well-connected businesses making enormous profits out of the labor of these prisoners. It's good to have prisoners engaged in productive work, but we must ensure that selected companies are not profiting out of the work or the labor of prisoners unnecessarily.
Meanwhile, the Transparency International Sri Lanka launched the Apesali.lk website, which provides a platform for the general public to report incidents of corruption to TISL today. The event was held at the BMICH in Colombo today.
It is our money which is at stake. Corruption has to do with the quality of our life conditions, with the future for us and for our children. The money that goes into private pockets or shell companies or tax havens through illicit financial flows is the money that is missing in education, healthcare, infrastructure.
The Patriotic National Front convened a media briefing today.
There is no reason to support the government. We feel that the government is not even on the track to achieve what is expected. Therefore, there is no need to support the government anymore. By giving the president the mandate, the people expected that the law would be implemented and the environments would be protected. They are doing neither of these things. Regardless of whether it is the Rajapaksas or their allies in the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, we know that they went to Maitri and Ranil after they lost the elections on the 8th of January. Therefore, once the Rajapaksa family is unseated from power, they will cross to the other side.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Professor G.L. Piris held discussions with the Acting High Commissioner of Pakistan Tanvir Ahmed on the matters relating to the financial security of the family of late Priyantha Kumara, who was killed by a mob in the Sialkot area in Pakistan last week.
The Foreign Minister appreciated the intervention of Pakistani Prime Minister, who has taken personal charge of this investigation. Minister Piris highlighted the fact that the Sri Lankan government is concerned about the future of the two children of late Priyantha Kumara and the importance of receiving payments on time. Acting High Commissioner of Pakistan Tanvir Ahmed said that the law enforcement agencies in Pakistan are working to ensure the safety of all other Sri Lankans living in Pakistan. Meanwhile, the Pakistani media reported that the District Bar Association has refused to represent the suspects in Priyantha Kumara's mob lynching case. According to the Pakistan Daily, the decision was made in the meeting held by the association, adding that the relevant association also expressed its grief over the incident as well. According to Pakistani media reports, so far 345 Rajco Industries employees have been detained and taken to an undisclosed location for questioning.
US President Joe Biden is set to host representatives of more than 100 countries for a democracy summit that is drawing fire from China and Russia.
The event, held by video link because of the coronavirus pandemic, is billed by the White House as US leadership is in an existential struggle between democracy and powerful autocracies or dictatorships. The summit will feature opening remarks from Biden at the White House and is set to gather representatives from some 100 governments as well as NGOs, private businesses, philanthropical organizations and legislatures. The United States has invited South Asian countries including India, Pakistan, Maldives and Nepal, while leaving Sri Lanka behind. China and Russia are among the few countries together with Sri Lanka not invited for the summit. The Chinese and Russian state media are meanwhile working in overdrive to denigrate the Biden administration's summit for democracy taking place this week, calling the project hypocritical.
Meanwhile, Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka Ji Zhenghong and Russian ambassador to Sri Lanka Yuri Materi held discussions at the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka today. The Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka tweeted, quote, Ambassador Ji had a pleasant and in-depth discussion with Russian ambassador Yuri Materi at the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka today on a wide range of topics, unquote. The Chinese embassy's tweet further read, quote, long live Sino-Russian friendship, unquote.
On to the international news. Indian farmers have said they are ending a year of mass protests a week after the government agreed to abandon the controversial agricultural reforms.
Thousands of farmers have camped at the borders of the capital Delhi, with dozens dying from heat, cold and COVID. They will begin returning to their homes from Saturday. The decision came after ministers agreed to discuss their other demands, including guaranteed prices for produce. Farm unions were protesting against the government's introduction of 3 market-friendly laws, which they said would leave them vulnerable to big companies, including the Adani Group, and destroy their livelihoods. After months of insisting that the reforms would benefit farmers, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced on the 19th of November that his government would repeal the laws. A bill to cancel the reforms was officially passed in Parliament on the 30th of November.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi honoured late General Bipin Rawat, India's first ever Chief of Defence Staff.
His life came to a tragic end in a helicopter crash in Tamil Nadu, along with his wife Madhulika Rawat and 11 other armed force personnel yesterday. The lone survivor, Group Captain Varun Singh, among the 14 passengers on board, is in critical condition at the military hospital in Wellington, Tamil Nadu. In a tweet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi conveyed his condolences. General Rawat was on his way to the Defence Services Staff College in Wellington to address the faculty and students when the crash took place. The military plane carrying General Rawat's remains is scheduled to land at New Delhi's Air Force Technical Airport. Thereafter, the body will be transported to the Army Hospital in Daulakwan in New Delhi. Meanwhile, the convoy of ambulances transferring the remains of the victims met with an accident en route to the Sulur airbase. The last rites of the late Chief of Defence Staff and other deceased will be performed with military honours. According to Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, a full investigation with regard to the helicopter crash is being carried out by the Indian Tri-Services. The black box of the ill-fated Indian Air Force helicopter has been retrieved. Indian defence officials stated that the flight data recorder as well as the cockpit voice recorder of the Mi-17V5 has been recovered from the crash site.
And with that, we wrap up primetime news here on TV1. For more news, log on to our board meeting website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm David Pardano, along with our sign interpreter for tonight, Taraka Gabriel. Take care and good night.